Hello everyone. Today's book is filled with all kinds of gore, all kinds of bloodshed. It's a straight up horror book and I really appreciate that. But it's also got a really great narrative behind it, and that's what makes it such a good book. And we're going to talk about all that, but first I want to remind you that I have books for sale. The books you see on your screen can be found at the link in the description. And by the way, speaking of links, I have several links down below that you can check out if you want to. And some people have said the links lead to, they seem to be broken. They don't work. The links do work, but it's YouTube's redirect service that sometimes breaks the links as it's trying to get out of the YouTube app or the YouTube algorithm trying to get to these links. They do work, so if you're trying to find something and it doesn't work, leave me a comment, let me know which link you would like, and I will place it in the comment, and for some reason that will work. It'll work in the comments, not in the description. I don't understand YouTube. But anyway, let's get on with the video. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about a book called Evil Whispers by Goingback. As I said, this is a straight up horror book. Now I like all kinds of horror books. I like the slow burn horror books that lead up to something at the end. I love the ones that are more psychologically based. And I love horror books based on certain social issues that are happening right now. And these authors just put a horrifying, terrifying twist on the issues we're all facing. And I love all of that. But when you get a book that is seeking to say or do nothing more than just be a straight old-fashioned gory horror book, I always appreciate that when it's done this well. And that's what we have here. This book is about a family. They go to a campground in Florida. Yes, it's based in Florida. And I want to say something about that. How come more horror books aren't set in Florida? Florida seems to be the perfect setting. Because every time a headline starts, a man in Florida, nothing good is going to come out of that headline. And I'm surprised more horror books aren't based in the Sunshine State. But anyway, they go to this small little town out of the way in central Florida to a campground for their summer vacation. This campground, you know, they have cabins, they have fishing, you can rent pontoon boats, you can rent canoes, you can eat at their great restaurant. It's run by a couple who really likes people. You know, they love their campground. They love meeting people from all over the country. And they also have a bar, and some of the locals eat at the restaurant, drink at the bar, and all that good stuff. It's a very nice, very nature-filled place. They have a nature trail in back. You can go hike if you want. All kinds of outdoor, nature-filled activities. But one day, the little girl is out in the woods and she discovers her new best friend there. Now she can't see her new best friend. It's just a voice in her head, a whisper that only she can hear. And this voice is saying it wants to be her special friend. And this voice wants to do special things with her. They can play games. They can read together. They can do any activity she wants. To her, it seems like a very nice voice. She's never had a special friend. She's only 10 years old. And so to her, this is something fantastic, especially when it starts talking about giving her special magical gifts. Now, what 10-year-old could pass up a free magical gift from her invisible magical friend? All right. But we're going to find out that this is not the kind of friend you want to have. Now, when she tells her parents about it, they of course think she just made an imaginary friend. She has no friends at this campground. All her friends are back home. So they just kind of brush it off as one of those things kids do, a phase that they're going through, and things like that. Her friend's name is Mansa. And we are going to find out that Mansa is very, very evil. Ha ha ha. As you can imagine. Because Mansa was once a real man, way back in the day, in that town where this campground sits, Mansa was a practitioner of black dark magic, and he would often kidnap Native American children from the Seminole tribe and eat them. And one day, the Seminole people had had enough. They went to this small little town. They killed everybody there. They grabbed Mansa. They killed him, chopped his body up, threw his body parts into a lagoon, separating it. But even though his body died, his spirit did not, because he has help from the supernatural realm, the dark, evil, supernatural realm. So his spirit is powerful. His spirit lives on. But ever since then, there has been at least one medicine man from the Seminole tribe left in that area to protect it, knowing that Mansa's plan all along is to come back and reinstate himself as an evil presence, even more powerful than he was when he was first alive, because of a ritual he can perform. So there's always been at least one Seminole medicine man in this area that can practice as much magic as they can, trying to stop this evil force. And this Mansa, this evil spirit, connects with this little girl, and one day convinces her to go out into the woods around midnight, because he's got something very special to show her. And so she escapes out of her bedroom window, slowly makes her way to this lagoon area, and that's where she gets possessed by Mansa. And what happens next is just horrifying and brutal, because Mansa has a plan to gather all his bones together, perform a ritual so that his spirit can inhabit his old body, and then make this little girl a sacrifice. And he can't wait to feast on her flesh when he does so. And so when the parents find out their daughter's missing, they have everything. They have helicopters, they have dogs, they have many, many search party members out searching, overturning every rock, trying to find this little girl. But because she's possessed, Mansa has this ability to have her hide in the shadows and underneath things where normally she wouldn't be able to, in order to avoid being discovered until he can get this ritual done. But to perform this ritual, he needs other things other than his bones. He needs stuff like a heart. He needs stuff like eyes. And they have to come from living human beings. So in the body of this 10-year-old girl, Mansa possesses her. And it is just a blood spree from there. It's just she is slicing, dicing, chopping, killing all of these people. Anybody who's foolish enough to come near her, and taking parts of their body so that this ritual can be done. Now keep in mind, she is innocent in all this, because she is no longer in control of her mind or her spirit or her body. But that does not make it any less horrifying when you imagine all the atrocities you're going to read about in this book coming from a 10-year-old girl, possessed or not. It just elevates that creepy factor up to 11. At least it did for me. I couldn't get that out of my head, that this was all being done by this powerful spirit, but in the body of a 10-year-old girl. That was pretty horrifying to me. And eventually, the medicine man that is now guarding the lagoon, realizing what happened, his name is Jimmy Cypress. I love this character, Jimmy Cypress, because at first he seems antagonistic and standoffish, and he kind of has a hatred for authority and white people in general, you know. But he goes out of his way to help this family find his daughter, because it's his responsibility to make sure that this evil didn't happen, and he feels that he's failed. So first he has to convince the parents of what's really happening, despite the fact that they kind of don't really believe it. But if they want to save their daughter, they are grasping at straws after a few days, and they will do whatever it takes to get their daughter back safely. Whether they're going to do that or not, I'm going to leave that up to you to read the book and figure out for yourself, because it's very, very dreadful and very tense, because you never know what this spirit is going to make this little girl do. We don't even know if they have the power to stop it, because since Mansa has been dead, his powers have increased exponentially. And so he is much more powerful than any magic that Jimmy Cypress has, even though he is doing his best to hold back the evil. But should this ritual take place, and should Mansa actually inhabit his body again with his spirit, it is not going to be safe for anyone. This evil will spread, and it is not going to be good. I believe this author just set out to write a straight up scary, bloody, brutal horror book, and he exceeds at that. It was fantastic. The pacing was, it seemed to be a lot shorter than what it actually was. That's how good the pacing was, because it just had a flow to it. It just kept going chapter after chapter. Horrible things happen, end the chapter, start with something else. You got to keep reading. You got to find out what's going to happen. And it was very effective, very easygoing writing style that you'll get into and you'll be able to really be engaged with. I absolutely love this book. I highly recommend it, and I will put a link down below where you can get your copy through Amazon. And I recommend that you do. Check it out. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time, spending it here with me. I really appreciate you guys watching. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.